Так, добрый вечер всем. Это
Good evening, everyone. This is one of the final sessions of the one of the last sessions of the forum. As far as I know, this is one of the last sessions. We will have a brief panel for just an hour. My name is Guy Ames. I'm from England. I'm the co-founder of this Council for Environmental Construction, and we're going to discuss sustainable neighborhoods. And
City. Будет очень короткие презентации, но я хотел бы сказать, что
we will have some brief presentations, but tomorrow, for those who are interested in this topic, there will be a more detailed workshop based at another location, and you can get registered at that. Those who are interested in that topic, let me introduce to you our speakers whom we have here this evening. First, we have James Ehrlich from the US, from Region Villages, and he is the pioneer to set up housing of new type and this village of new type for any part of the planet. We are glad that you could join us. Warren Desai from Bioregional. He's a pioneer in his field. He built the first eco settlement in the UK, which is called BedZ. There are many of those here who are aware of this. He will be telling us about new principles of how to build and live. Then we have Dmitry Berezutsky from Legov, limited liability company from Skolkovo. And Dmitry has an interesting story about the new type of construction and how it's done in Russia, about the pilot project there. Then Bakshi Arpan from Forster and Partners. It's a well-known architectural firm. They specialize in transportation solutions for the future. He is specializing in innovations and can predict what's going to happen in 5, 10, 20, 30 years. He is a first-class specialist in his field, and we have a special guest instead of Maxim Shefel from Skolkovo. He is a friend of ours, but Dvorkovich asked him to be elsewhere. He had to return. And Alexei Almazov, whom we all know from PEAK, unfortunately he fell ill and could not come. But Gassan is a good developer from Cesar Stroy. GR Group. And let's start with our first presenter, Arpan.
sustainable communities of the future. They depend very highly on transport solutions. Where do you see that developing? What do you think the future is for transport for sustainable communities?
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, the future of transport is definitely electric, shared, and connected. And we are moving from private vehicles to shared ownership. We are moving from human operators to intelligent algorithms. And the future of transport is very exciting, because if you can imagine anything you can do right now from your phone, Your phone will be taking you in the most optimal way possible from point A to point B, and in between, it will automatically reroute the best way to get there in a way that reduces congestion, reduces pollution, and reduces carbon.
Do you have a presentation?
Yes.
Utsidabrida prezentacja Arpana.
Do I just advance?
Oh.
It's, this one. Yeah, it's on.
Да, технические службы. Можете подключить первые презентации, или мы нажимаем просто, и он дальше будет крутиться. Это Foster and Partners, Arpan Bakshi.
There you go. So, introduction to Foster and Partners, but also addressing, what is the barrier to sustainability today? And from our perspective, the barrier is really not a technological one, but the barrier is integration. So solving tomorrow's problems, and you can see some of our work in the video, really requires a team that includes technologists, anthropologists, experts across the sciences, experts in economics, even storytelling, and social scientists. So some of the solutions that you see on the screen require all of these disciplines, and it requires an integrator who specializes in innovation. So to build a sustainable Moscow, a sustainable Russia, we have to think outside of our limited project site, and we have to think about all of the externalities, all of the flows, the resources, the connectivity, the economic flows. We have to think about all of these things and how they relate to each other. And only then can we transform our buildings, can we transform our transport systems, can we transform our cities. And eventually, as you see in some of the imagery on the screen, we are moving to a point where we are even able to go beyond our planet. And some of these projects, you see, we are working on pilot projects on Mars, pilot projects on the moon, but we all have to start here in our cities, and we have to think at a big scale. So let's explore this with one project where we have used this approach of integrated design with a lens to innovation and through design excellence. So this project right here is a community, sustainable community that we are designing in India. It's called Amravati, the people's capital. It's irrigated with an abundance of water. And through this river's adjacent location, we are designing a green spine that runs through the middle of this city, this sustainable community. It's capturing, supplying, regenerating water supplies, and creating an entire urban ecosystem. We are developing 13 public plazas to support social sustainability, and the architecture draws on local history to develop a modern vocabulary that maximizes energy efficiency, local and natural materials. So a sustainable community of tomorrow is defined by waterways, by green open spaces, the highest standards in green building, large shaded walkways, terraces, and facades, generating 100% of its energy with renewable sources. We are also designing an emission-free transportation system. This includes a network of e-buses, metro, water taxis, bicycles, all designed as the future of mobility that's better connected, cleaner, healthier, and more convenient. With optimally using land and water, the sustainable community of tomorrow is smart. It is created using local materials and expertise to build a circular economy. Buildings and infrastructure are connected using geographic information systems and city information models that are continually streaming data to understand use patterns, identify faults, and balance demand with resource. The center of every sustainable community is iconic civic architecture, a place and space for the people and by the people. Civic architecture should, at the center of a sustainable community, should inspire, educate, and establish a standard of excellence for all future development. Sustainable real estate development should provide a variety of densities, scales, use types, and provide space that is flexible and adaptable to change. So sustainable development meets the needs of today without compromising the needs of tomorrow. Creating and implementing a holistic design requires a team led by innovators and integrators with design excellence at its core. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Конечно, ведущие архитектурные.
Of course, some leading architectural companies show us holistically how we can live in the future. But when we talk about the future of the city, how will the city be managed? There's a unique concept from regen villages concept. Thank you.
In Russia and in Moscow. This is my first trip here. I'm James Ehrlich. I'm founder of Regen Villages. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Stanford University. I'm faculty at Singularity University. I'm a senior fellow at NASA Ames Research Center. And during the Obama administration, I was appointed to a White House and U.S. State Department joint task force on the regenerative infrastructure with a nexus of food, water, energy, and waste. So Regen Villages is the word regenerative, right? So I want to replace the word sustainable with the word regenerative, because sustainable really only applies to business models, whereas the word regenerative actually applies to how humanity will be able to survive as a species on this planet. And at the same time, we've developed a spin-off company. It's a Dutch holding company based in the EU, obviously, that's building the neighborhoods of the future around food, water, energy, and waste-to-resource management. These are our main asset classes that support how families will live in safe, resilient communities that are like life support systems, like mini spaceships, if you will, at NASA or at ESA. But the main idea is that we reduce burdens on government from a local level, a regional level, and eventually at a national level, because we improve healthy outcomes, how people live and where people live. At the same time, you don't have to be a farmer or an engineer to live inside of a Regen Villages community. The way we design and build the neighborhoods is such a way that we help to manage those thriving mechanisms. So you can participate as you like, if you want to participate, to volunteer in the neighborhood, and then that would reduce your monthly association fees. And if you don't want to participate, then you would pay a higher monthly rate. It's pretty simple. It's an eco-village, a high-tech eco-village, on your own terms. At the same time, you are not disassociated from nature. You're part of nature. And we've brought together some fantastic technology partners. At the same time, because we're born from university research, we connect to and support grants for university research around the world as a means to lever and to create fast-track permitting of developments at scale around the world. Regen Villages, at its heart, is a substrate. It's a technology platform where the output of one system becomes the input of another. And then we have a software layer over the top. And that software layer, that intellectual property, that village operating system, the Village OS that we have patented, actually learns from the neighborhood and then across climate zones can improve. It's really the Tesla of eco-villages. It's what we're building. This is our first pilot community. We're 30 minutes from Amsterdam. It's a really beautiful, very young municipality, and our project is 7 meters below sea level. It's about the abundant surplus of how we can create neighborhoods that overproduce healthy, organic, delicious food that's biodiverse, at the same time that is energy independent, water independent, and turns waste into resources. So our master plan for 203 units is taking a piece of farmland and reimagining it in a way that is a new kind of ecosystem. And to do that, we put a mixture of tiny homes, using, for North Europe, wood and glass, but we could do other kinds of architecture, row houses, semi-detached, and villas. So we create an economic strata in each community so that it becomes extremely affordable based on the fact that it's a mixed usage. So our village operating system, as I mentioned, connects all of those pieces of food, water, energy, and waste to resource. We have a fork of the blockchain, which empowers our time bank for how people actually contribute to the neighborhood. And then finally, we figured out a way to digest up to 2 tons of food and animal waste per day at a neighborhood scale and turn that into food for chickens and for fish. So it's a complete circular system. We went viral 2 years ago. We've had about 53 million web impressions, 7,200 families signed up for our first 200 homes. If your question is there a demand for neighborhoods like this? The answer is absolutely yes. People want to live like this across generations. We've put together an amazing team of people, very strong in real estate development and technology, and that's really our sweet spot. We are a tech-integrated real estate development group. And we've got other projects planned. We'd love to do projects here in Russia, and especially in the Moscow region. And primarily, the idea is to be near suburban. Eventually, we can also do projects in urban areas. But our main goal right now is to put together 2 or 3 projects into a green bond to raise 3 to 5 billion euro and be able to do these projects at scale, at an industrial scale around the world. That is regen villages, the Tesla of eco-villages. Spasibo bolshoy.
Well, James, that's really incredible. It's very impressive. I would love to live in one of your villages. Let's hope that that's part of the plan. So moving on to Poran. Poran, people around the world are starting to realize that things need to change, and there's an urgent need to reduce our impact on the planet, whilst increasing our quality of life. To what extent does One Planet Living, your principle, the tool as an instrument, allow that to happen? And can you give some examples?
Yeah, thank you very much, Guy, and thank you very much for coming to this session. Let me just... Are they going to... Can we put the One Planet one? Ah, great. So, One Planet Living. So our journey actually started here, building the BedZ Eco Village in South London, which is 100 homes and office and community space, and it's where I live and where we have our headquarters. And it was the first reasonable scale zero emissions development to be built in the UK and possibly anywhere in the world. So it's run completely off renewable energy. We've reduced car use. It's a very neighbourly place, and 70% of our residents actually say they have a better quality of life here than where they lived previously. So it is possible actually to start reducing our environmental impacts at the same time as increasing our quality of life. And as we were building out, or as we were completing our BedZ Eco Village, we had 27 university research projects, and they were generating huge amounts of data. And we couldn't really make sense of all this data, and we wanted to find a way of creating a simple story which could engage people and make sense of all the complexity around us to help steer a way through to creating more sustainable communities. And so we started using ecological footprinting and created this very simple story around One Planet Living, and particularly around how many planets it might take to support a particular lifestyle. So if we all live like Europeans, or the average Russian included in that, we would need 3 planets to support us. So how can we create places and products and services which help us lead happy, healthy lives, but within the environmental limits of One Planet. So that's where One Planet Living comes from. So very simple idea. And for us, it's very much a hearts and minds approach, that we are surrounded by lots of data, lots of information. People are asking for more and more facts. But in fact, psychologists tell us at least 9 out of 10 decisions we make are emotional decisions first, and then we just collect facts to support what is an emotional decision. So providing people with more facts actually does not help us create a more sustainable future. What we need to do is really engage not just people's minds, but people's hearts. So we wanted to create that very simple story, that very engaging story to help create more of the sorts of developments that we thought was good for people and the planet. We created 10 very simple principles to help us do that, from health and happiness to zero carbon energy. You can go to our website and find out a bit more if you go to bioregional.com. And then we completed BedZ in 2002. So for the last 16 years, we've been working with partners around the world. So we're actively working in about 20 countries at the moment, with developers, with manufacturing companies, retailers, who are applying the concept of One Planet Living. And I'll just share a few of those examples. We're a real estate developer in the UK ourselves as well, so we raised the finance to build out this second project called One Brighton, which is 172 apartments, again run completely off renewable energy, rooftop allotments or gardens for growing some of the produce. We went completely private car free, so there's no private car parking here. And it's still the largest private car-free development in the UK. But we introduced things like car-sharing schemes, so people had access to a car when they needed one, but without needing to own their own car. You know, we thought very carefully about health outcomes as well. So one of the principles is health and happiness, so we think very carefully about that. And just for example, this is a story from one of our residents, Silvana and her husband, and they moved into our development, sold their 2 cars, and in 18 months they lost, 80 pounds. So that's 35 kilos between them by adopting a healthier lifestyle. So definitely the sorts of places we build determine the health outcomes of not just future generations, but our own health outcomes. And in the UK, we spend 15% of our GDP, or about 120 billion pounds a year. I don't know how much that is in rubles. It's a lot of rubles. And 40% of all our health spending is on what our doctors now call modifiable diseases, diseases which are primarily caused by diet, lifestyle, and environment. So we have a crisis in our funding of our health service, and absolutely, I'm one of the few people in the country who says don't spend any more on our health service. Actually, spend it on creating places which supports healthier lifestyles, and avoid all that spending in the health service. But this is another project, fantastic project near Seattle, 140 homes, again, all run completely by renewable energy, creating these fantastic environments for people. So again, by removing cars from the center of the development, keeping them in the periphery, you create very neighborly places, which is good for our mental health as well. And particularly, we're seeing a rise in incidents of depression and anxiety, and one of the key predisposing factors to that is becoming isolated. And if you live in a neighborly community, you're less likely to become isolated. So again, the health impacts in terms of resilience as we move into a period of great chaos in the world, great stress on people. If we can create the sorts of places where people feel supported, they know their neighbors, then the people who live in those communities are going to be better prepared for the future. And it's being adopted in schools as well. So this is a school in California adopting the One Planet principles as a core part of the curriculum. and this is my favorite project at the moment. It's the extension to Disneyland Paris, which has been developed as a One Planet resort. So it's 1,000 holiday apartments and Europe's largest swimming complex. So all heated with renewable energy. So the hot water comes from a geothermal aquifer. So we had to drill down 2 kilometers to get that hot water. So you can swim outdoors all year round, but without damaging the environment, no carbon emissions from that. And we're now working with a number of cities around the world to introduce this at the city scale. And we're very pleased just recently that with support of the British Embassy and through Guy's connections, we're working with the city of Tarusa, which is near Kaluga, just about an hour south of Moscow, who want to adopt the One Planet principles and get their stakeholders involved in promoting a better future for Tarusa. And just finally, in terms of tools, I think the main thing with One Planet Living that we've got actually is just a very simple story. We can explain it even to high school kids within 2 minutes, and they can understand what we're talking about. If you talk to them about tons of carbon, it's very hard. Is a ton of carbon good? Is it bad? How big is it? So we need to convey much more clearly to people in very simple terms about the challenge we face and the opportunity that brings. But we're also now making it more widely available by creating an online platform for people, cities, companies, communities to write their own One Planet action plans, monitor what they're doing, and interestingly also connect up. So within the next couple of months we'll have the full functionality, but a city, you can set at a city-wide level outcomes for the city, and then as a company or a community, a real estate developer, you can adopt those outcomes directly into your own plan and add your own actions to it, so that the city can track what's going on in that city and start incentivizing the sorts of things it wants to incentivize. So thank you very much, and yeah, very interested to hear your questions later. Thank you.
No. Poran, thank you very much, and it's wonderful how your vision developed into a project in London, which has now developed into probably tens of projects, and how you have this tool which can help now with future projects. Now, очень интересно все эти.
All these presentations were quite interesting, and the tools that Puran was telling us about that will be soon available in Russian, and we will see some good examples of using it in Russia for these One Planet communities. You may be aware of other standards, LEED and Russian standards. For that, One Planet Living is another tool for developers and for the cities, for organizations. Our panel discussion here consists of 3 parts. We heard 3 great foreign speakers, and now it's time for us to hear about what's going on in Russia, and then we will ask questions and discuss with each other what questions you might have. Now let me give the floor to Dmitry Berezutsky, one of the most passionate eco-builders in Russia. Dmitry, I know that there were some fantastic plans, but how realistic is it for the Russian Federation in terms of technology and consolidation and economic realities in your country? Is it realistic in Russia?
What is real once again? So how many projects of this can we build, and what technologies can we use in Russia to fulfill such fantastic projects? I know that you already do also these developments. Yes, of course, I will speak about this. Thank you for the invitation, first of all, for this very exciting session. In Russia, everything is very real. because when we have huge resources and potential in Russia, and brilliant engineering, human capital, for me it's very strange that we are not leaders here in this area. But today, as our president stated, we have big plans also in housing. And this experience, I hope, will give us other opportunities. Just, I would like to briefly speak about our association. This is not our first project and our research company, which is now a resident of Skolkovo. This project is now at the stage of under realization. This will be the center of green technologies, and there will gather about 200 of different cutting-edge technologies, innovations of large companies, startups of Skolkovo. And this will be like house for green technologies. It will be in Moscow region. It will be a R&D center and also like a demonstration. So in it, we'll have two zones, a housing area. It will be like a platform where different systems will change, machine, intelligent, smart house without interface. Smart house will adapt to people. Also, eco program to do different researches, the level of happiness also, and some other parameters. It will be a demonstration zone. But those will cooperate. There will be very good visualization, added reality, and the zone of research. And in this zone of research, there will be modeling works. Also, we'll study these technologies. If we speak about startups, Skolkovo startups. I would like to understand the attitude of people to them. Also, there will be a sort of floor. On the slide, we don't see this. There will be like green roofing. So R&D Center, integration of green technologies. So these are materials for housing, construction, and interior. We developed the interior. We collaborated with IKEA company. IKEA company is an expert at eco-friendly materials. And we collaborated with this company. Also modular construction, industrial construction, and several technologies will be shown: BAM technologies, different engineering technologies, energy, information, communication systems, systems of control, telemedicine, systems of comfort, and house intelligence. The project is open for all possible participants, so everything which can be referred to a creation of comfortable environment. We are gathering a lot of participants in this project. But in the core of the company, I won't name logos, but there are companies, quite well-known companies, and they showed their innovations. They also develop new models. Our cooperation with these companies are in three directions: scientific works, technological cooperation, and marketing, because this is a good way to show these technologies and maybe give another impetus for developing of eco construction in Russia. This is how our house looks like. This is a startup of Skolkovo. This is our Silicon Valley. The project is being realized at a big spot of land. The general developer, this is PIC project. General subcontractor is RIM Group. Our association is Green Stroy. Association of Engineering. 3 universities participate. Our strategic partner, our construction, Moscow University, is called Tech, and very global. Also, very global. Also, this building will be accredited in accordance with several standards. Rousseau standard, this is Russian standard, and global standards like LEED and BREEAN. This is in a nutshell about our project. This is like an announcement. Maybe in autumn we'll already invite you all to see how it looks like. But the project will live. I hope it will be long-lasting. Maybe it will change, and then you can also take a look at it. Thank you. It's very pleasant to hear about these projects, in spite of the fact that about 100 are certified in Moscow. We don't know a lot of them. There are not enough tours, not enough communication about these buildings, about sustainable technologies which are used. Very often we can see what exists in other countries, but it's time also to show what we have in Russia. Yes, absolutely right. When we are at the exhibitions and show the innovations of Skolkovo, so people ask us, where can we look at this? Where, besides these exhibitions, where can we go to see this? So the people don't know about it. Okay, now let's go to Versan. Versan, you have an extensive experience of developing works, and this is quite a difficult industry. And it's a risky business. How do you see prospects for eco-construction and technologies which we have heard about? Can you speak about them? Do they have any future? Or maybe Russia is so different from other countries, so special, and maybe it's not the territory for eco-construction. Good afternoon, guys. Thank you very much for this invitation. I will today speak about construction. Yes, I think they should owe you 2 bottles of cognac. Okay, I will name several figures. I won't speak about my company, about myself. That's why I don't have any presentation. I will speak about you and about us. First of all, figures. In the world, during last 20 years, we certified 27,000 projects. This is LEED certification and BREEAN certification. LEED, the USA, and BREEAN, this is Great Britain. In Russia, we certified 2160 projects. I think more projects. Okay, once again, this is 2015. In 2018, the projects, there are 187 projects certified. What does it mean? Here we can see geometric progression, first of all. Then we say that a number of Russians, consumers of eco-construction, is rapidly growing. And these people understand that when they choose location, they choose not only end price, and for today this is of course the final decision when people make a decision to buy an apartment or house. Price is important. But nevertheless, for people, it becomes also important ecological space outside of the building. And I can speak about this because in my practice, development of residentials, so I have a lot of experience in this. And also interior is important. We understand that eco construction, this is recuperation of energy resources, and it's like recovery, yes? This is eco operation, recuperation of waste of the buildings. Then this building will be abandoned. And what will be built in this, at this place? I don't know, maybe it's late, but we start to work with this product. And of course, our customers are interested. Eco project wins over other projects. This is marketing strategy, also strategy of product realization. And of course, now in Moscow we have wonderful projects, Triumph Palace, in St. Petersburg, office complex, the greenest one. This is Gazprom, of course. They can afford to be so green, but still, we learn lessons. What do we lack? Maybe, Guy, we need such venues. We lack qualified foreign experts. And I believe that if we could share our experience and decisions not only at such forums, but also in working environment, it would be much better. For example, you, Dima, and some other participants, also in audience, a lot of people, so they could disseminate these products. Here, not only integration is important, but also self-cost, primary cost is important, prime cost. So especially speaking in my area, here we speak about millions of square meters. And our customer, our buyer, he is included in the structure of our interests. He also, cares about money. So eco-construction in Russia exists, and it is developing rapidly. It is difficult, it's a challenge, but I think it will be even more difficult in the future because of some causes, but then it will be a paradise. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to give the floor to our audience. Maybe you have questions, so to some particular speakers or to all speakers. I have a comment. We have to prove that green construction is more economical than a usual construction. These are other technologies. It's quicker, innovative technology, and if all building is green, is making green, in accordance with the standards, this building will be cheaper than traditional. And on top of that, it's green. So this is like a shift from traditional construction to green construction. And now it's cheap. It's a little bit more expensive for a while, and for developers, it's a little bit more complicated. We have like a transition period for now, but in the future, green building will be much more economical than now, than traditional ones. Okay. Do you have any questions in the audience? Don't be shy. Ask your question. Please introduce yourself first. Professor Danilov, Sechenskiy University. Here there were projects which analyzed changing of behavior in the cities of England. Did you make researches how this changed environment influence on the level of stress of people, not an individual, but a lot of people, maybe changes of eating and so on? And did you do some benchmarking?
You have a lot of experience in the field of food and how people react to that, and I know Poran also with your background of neuroscience, you could presumably also answer that question.
I think the question is probably directed for Poran first, right?
Go ahead then, Poran, if you prefer.
Okay, I'm happy to take that. Yeah, I think there's a lot more work now being done on how the environment affects our health. I'm not familiar with all those latest studies now, but there's a very good initiative of the WHO, the World Health Organization, on healthy cities. So lots of evidence now on what's known as obesogenic environments, for example, particularly ones which are very heavily car dependent. And if we're more car dependent, we're more likely to end up with obesity and diabetes. There's also a lot of work on air pollution and the impacts of health. And in fact, for our last elections for London Mayor, of the top 3 issues, one of them was air pollution and the impact of of air pollution in cities, in the City of London on health. So they say something like 10,000 people a year die prematurely because of the air quality in London. And a third of all our children suffer from respiratory health problems, which is aggravated by pollution, primarily from cars. So I think a lot of this information is coming through. On our own projects, they're very small sample sizes, so we haven't done those longitudinal studies, but we're starting to work with our local general practitioner office to look at whether we can detect significant changes. So we have anecdotal evidence from single stories, but we don't have that on our own projects. But we want to get that in future.
I just want to say that my affiliation at Stanford is shared between the School of Medicine and the School of Mechanical Engineering. And in the School of Medicine, I'm actually in the neurosurgery department. So it's effective neuroscience in improving healthy outcomes based on how you live and where you live. And there's a 16-year study called Blue Zones, where people are living to 100, 110 years old, typically because they have agency with their natural resources. So there is some longitudinal studies in that regard.
Sorry, I can also add to this. Professor, thank you for the question. Actually, the interesting thing about your question is some people thought that blue would be the next green. It would be a large focus on water. But we're actually seeing a strong focus on health and well-being now. Within our practice, we have a number of architects who are accredited professionals in this rating system called WELL, which came out of New York. And we design both hospitals, we design offices, and one of the interesting things we see in the research is that if you're spending, say, $1 per square foot on energy, you're actually gaining $10 per square foot on productivity just from designing a healthier environment. And right now the research is pointing to a lot of the things that you've seen of how this building has been set up for the forum, which is biophilia. So access visually, experientially to natural elements, a lot of daylight. Those things are making people healthier, reducing sick days. On the hospital side, we designed the University of Pennsylvania health hospitals, and that highlighted a lot of the new current research, which shows that if you have a patient room which has access to views, access to light, ability to see clouds moving in the sky, it's reducing the amount of time that the patient is in the hospital room.
Так. Кто следующий?
The next one, please.
Представьте себя.
Добрый вечер.
Good evening, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for this substantive discussion. My name is Antipova Elena, the General Director of Private State Planning. We do complex planning of regional development. Now we took one neighborhood in Krasnodar region, and this neighborhood is very interesting. It's already green. So the biggest part is Kavkazsky resort area, and now we want to do experiment, social, economic, urban concept. We want to reconsider the concept city garden. So earlier we did this in the suburb, but now we believe that we have good technologies now, and we cooperate with Tesla Scientific Center and with some other international teams and Russian teams, and we can see that we can do this in nature. We can live in nature, but with high technologies, cutting-edge technologies. So, and we invite you all to participate in our international experience. We already confirmed the concept of this neighborhood, and we have already an official document of this neighborhood, and this is Mastersky neighborhood. This is oasis of green economy, of paradise, of happiness. So we want to make this real for an ordinary neighborhood. And also our authorities share this concept. I invite you all for cooperation, and we also want to share with you our experience. So this is very interesting, I agree. Thank you very much. Hello. Shebzukhova Olga, Sochi. I'm glad to see my colleagues here from the south. We are on the other part of Caucasus minerals. You all know Sochi. This is subtropical city, one city which in Russia which has subtropical climate. I am a general director of Center of Recreational Development. We prepared the program, the network of eco villages located along the sea. This is the second lawn after Los Angeles, 140,000 kilometers along the Black Sea. That's why we have quite a lot of, we did a lot of work. We work with the owners of the territory. We solve also problems of your neighborhood. We know your project. I have gone to you just recently, and also I will be happy to cooperate with you. So, and these territories of Russian South, they are good platform for green technologies, but also we can realize our, projects of successful development in the south of Russia. And also in Italy it exists. In Italy there are wonderful examples of green construction, and also we can do this in our climate. This intensive urbanization of resort areas which happen after Olympic Games and the staff development which we monitor now. So we understand that implementation of green technologies and organization of experimental site will be very beneficial for us. And will also increase recreational potential of these territories. We can use it always because we have a lot of balneological areas and touristic aspects. All this we have, and we have greenery construction and economy. We can create very decent, good projects, and together we'll speak, and also we'll be happy to see you. Thank you very much. As a small remark, between our neighborhoods, Sochi, and our neighborhood, also we plan to construct high-speed road. And the different formats will be combined, the sea, air, urbanized, and also the life in this unique nature environment. And also the question is the following. How can we participate in these projects, and what real participation can be arranged together? Okay, the question maybe to our participants.
Type of projects.
So I'm a very earthly person. Any construction for inhabitants is good for people, but also good for developers. For developers, this is money. And I will start with a good, or you should start with a good master plan. And you have to give a specific role for all participants. You have ideology of this project. Maybe it's time already to make a financial model. In this case, you will know already what you can do on this site. You can attract experts, of course, Russian experts. This will be one price. These are just simple, direct things, okay? And then, so master plan first, and then you will understand whom you can invite. The Russian school of eco-construction still lags behind from the Western, of course. And if we take Indian experience, this is really tremendous, great projects. So maybe you should invite our friends, invite our colleague, Indian colleague. And also speaking about a qualified developer in Sochi, So there are a lot of astonishing smart subcontractors in Sochi, and they can make your project very well. So the school which you went through, it's good till 2014, till Olympic Games. So you can also find a lot of experts in Sochi. Dmitry, can you also expand? Well, I know a lot about these projects. I think Alexander also is an expert in these projects, as I know. At least he spoke about it. Okay, it's a pity that my city, Rostov-on-Don, a little bit lags behind, and we don't have such a green project. We, of course, try to cope with it, and we also conducted forum with Guy there. But we are ready to help, of course, ready to participate, and of course we need to use the experience we had and the opportunities which are around us. There are so many, foreign experts. They come to us, and we are already communicating. Please agree with them and invite them to Sochi, to Krasnodar region, and of course, so they will like the places, and then it will start. Okay, 5 minutes additional organizers gave to us. Maybe we can also discuss one more question. Okay, please, you're welcome. But please, Fedorov Marina Spectrum company, I would like to start a discussion. We are designers. Green construction in housing practically is not applied. For example, Triumph Park got BREEAM. We used Trinity, but Gazprom can afford it, It can afford it. But if we take a usual residential housing, it's very expensive. It costs an arm and a leg. Kasan Gusenovich said that we have to do this, but we need to pinch pennies, I would like to hear some real examples of housing construction, econom or comfort class. What technologies did you apply? For today, we developed some innovative projects, energy efficient ventilated facades, which save heat in winter and cold in summer, and they have the same price, as expensive, and we already use it. Starting from efficient brick with many layers, also ending up with engineering solutions. And Dima said it right. If we position this well, if we use green technologies properly, it will be cheaper than traditional one. But we lack, professionals, we lack experts and programs, we lack regulations and documents, official documents, which can be in compliance with eco-construction. And this is, important. 3 years ago, we made a construction fair in St. Petersburg, and we discussed eco-construction, and we had about 6 developers at our table. And there was so criticism there that it was horrible. But 10 developing companies in St. Petersburg spoke about their own, large green projects. And only one person in the audience was disagreed, and we wanted to push him away from our room. So I disagree. Just maybe not enough statistics in the country and not enough communications about the projects, eco-construction. This is the problem. Yes, you put it right. We are not aware of our heroes, but eco-construction in Russia is developing. We also have 2 project institutes. These are answers to your questions, and also these are proposals to all colleagues. Please join our works, the projects which we'll do. These are millions of square meters in Russia, and we can do something together. You're welcome. And finally, I would like also to mention about our two speakers who are honored with us, Maxim Sheffel, and he has a lot of positive approaches to eco-construction, also Peak Group, and they have a lot of plans. We wanted to hear about him, but he got ill. Guy, I want to say about them. Maxim is my friend, and he is the head of the project. He is vice president and mayor of Skolkovo, and he wanted to speak about his innovative eco projects, Hyper Cube and Matrix or Matris. This is the latest building. These are very innovative projects. If you are interested in them, please surf internet. And if you are even very enthusiastic, you can go to us to Skolkovo. And now Alexey Almazov. Alexey Almazov, and this is my personal opinion, he's also my closest friend, my very true friend. He is the advanced, designer. He works also in Pika. He uses technologies, eco-construction, modeling, eco-technologies, and this is applied in many construction works, and he increases this figure every day. This is Alexey Almazov, so two people missing here. And how do they implement this? So they would like to speak about it, but we don't have enough statistics. In Russia, it will be developing very rapidly. Aren't you afraid that we speak about spoke about West and about Russia? Okay, so we are proud that in Russia we also have a lot of now eco-construction. But aren't we afraid that still we are lagging behind the West? How do you think? Can we catch up with the West? Guy, it's a question to you. Yes, of course, we know that every nation has some disruption technologies. And of course, Russian kindness, hospitality, space industry, and you all know this. It's number one, on the planet. But also, we respect the German car construction. Americans know how to do design construction. In Trump administration, we have 25 people, and in our administration, thousands. Of course, we have to, learn a lot from you, from our Western colleagues. I want to add, so when we spoke about Alexey Almazov and Maxim Sheffel, I want to add that Skolkovo realized also neighborhoods of smart apartments, and we also invite you to take a look at them. Besides Matryoshka and Hyper Cube, please come to Skolkovo and look at these buildings. We can name Skolkovo a smart city, of course, because here we also do recycling on waste in Skolkovo, and we'll develop this further. And also I can speak the same about Peak Group. Alexey is an outstanding person, and also, they bought recently a company on smart cities. Peak will start to buy build smart apartments on a large scale. Speaking about our experience, we have problems with housing, and of course, we have a lot of solutions already for this, and maybe you need also our experience.
30 seconds from each of our foreign speakers. Do you see yourselves being able to work over here and work with Russian companies to bring some of your experience to Russia?
I was really excited, and I thought it was quite refreshing this morning to see President Putin especially speaking about development outside of cities and in looking at both regional and rural development. I think that the idea of celebrating eco-villages and creating these neighborhoods around food, which is my expertise, making edible neighborhoods essentially, is really exciting. And so we want to work in Russia very badly.
Wonderful. Thank you. Poren?
Yeah, I think the fantastic opportunities in Russia, of course, masses of resources here, which are going to be increasingly precious into the future. So I think Russia can lead the way, and particularly now you're rebranded after the World Cup. You know, everyone wants to be friends with Russia. So.
Very good. And Alban?
Yeah, I'm very excited to work more in Russia, but I do also want to note that there's a conception, I think, generally that eco means more cost, eco means more technology, but it actually is smart planning, smart design. And there's many things going for Moscow in Russia which are very unique. It's a large city, it's a growing metropolis, 10 to 15 million people. That means there's enough of a demand to test new forms of transport. You know, we're working with Virgin and Richard Branson on developing Hyperloop One right now. We're working with NISSAN on new types of systems which cars and buildings can power each other. And also Russia has a very cold climate, which is, it's probably one of its highest, I guess, advantages. Because with smart planning, what you can do is, instead of having a residential district here and a commercial district there, you put the two together. You have heat being generated from lights and computers in the offices and data centers. That heat becomes transferred to residential developments at night. All of a sudden, you have no cost eco housing. There you go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much to all the speakers. У нас очень интересный разговор о тех, которые...
We have a very interesting topic. If you want to continue this discussion, please tomorrow come to our event, Strategical Innovations. Yuri, can you mention how people can register? Yuri, please. Yuri Brashnikov is an organizer of this tomorrow event. He will tell you how to register. But we are finalizing with our event. Thank you very much for participation. I'm happy that you were participating. Good evening. Tomorrow, in the Agency of Strategical Innovations, we invite foreign and Russian speakers, and they will speak in details about problems of sustainable development. Come to me and I give you more detailed information. It will be from 10 till 12:30, and after lunch there will be 2 workshops. Please come to these 2 workshops, but please come to me.